The hideout is much more than just a place to craft ammo or quest items. It has enormous potential to be able to supplement your income in Tarkov. And as most of us know, one of the most important things to being able to play Tarkov is having that money to get kits and gear so you can go into raid. But while making money in the hideout is simple in a principle, it takes quite a bit of research and effort to get the right crafts and make the most money. That's what I'm here for. I've dug into the crafts, broken them down on averages and trends, ordered them based on how much profit they make you per hour, all so that I can present these in a simple way so that you can just craft and not have to think too much about it. We'll go through each module. I'll show you simple crafts that make you money. I'll show you some that require a little bit more work but have higher profit margins. It doesn't matter what hideout level you have. I'm going to go through multiple levels of the hideout so you're covered regardless of where you're at. And I don't take any reductions for Intel Center 3 on the flea market fee or my skills or anything like that. So you will always be able to beat the numbers I have in here with just a little bit of skill or a little bit of shopping around and getting cheaper parts. Now, I will admit, this isn't for everybody. I get a great deal of pleasure out of shopping in the market and finding the best crafts and just crafting in general. It's fun for me. It's not about making more money in raid because you're never going to do that. It's not what it's about. It's about supplementing. It's about having that extra money churning while you're in raid. So let's not waste any more time and we'll dive right into the med station. Now, as I'm making this video, the most profitable craft currently is the Serve 12. Now the Serve 12 craft, what makes it so beautiful is the fact that you don't have to sell it on the flea. So there's no flea market fee involved. You just sell these to therapists or use them yourself, depending on how you want to look at it. But the goal is to get your pile of meds for 8,500 or less, your med tools for 11K or less, buy your S merches from therapists, obviously, and then once it's crafted, just sell them back to therapists. This will net you about 10K an hour, 13K in profit, which isn't too bad. It's the most profitable thing you can do right now without any kind of tricks or stuff like that. It just requires a level 3 med station. Now, if you don't have level 3, you're in luck because Pile of Meds is available at level 2, med station level 2, and it's honestly one of the best crafts for most of the wipe. Pile of Meds are tied directly to sugar, so as sugar climbs, so does Pile of Meds. But even right now, with sugar being cheap, you can still make decent money with them. Shoot for less than 4,000 on your AI2s, less than 2,800 on your bandages. Try to get your augmentin for about 13.5 or less, and then sell your meds for as close to 10K as you can. This is going to net you only about 6.6K an hour, but you can pretty easily push that higher if you work at it. Now, for me, I craft these in stacks of 15, 20, sometimes 30 and sell them like that. I don't sell them in 3s or 6s. I sell them in big stacks, a little bit more expensive at the end of the night when I log off. And that's just to get a little bit more bang for the buck because then you can push a little bit higher prices sometimes. Now, if all you have is level 1 med station, you're not out of luck. There's still stuff you can craft. It's the cheeses, AI2s, and they don't do great, but they're not bad either. Again, get your pile meds for about 8,500 or less, craft your AI2s, and then push as close to 4,000 on your sale as you can. Now, that means selling for like 39.85 or 39.50 or whatever to get under the big group if you want to. But again, I craft these in a little bit bigger stacks and sell them like that. It'll net you at least 4,000 an hour, but pushing 5,000 if you do a little bit better on your sales. And it gives you something to do in your med station while it's working anyways. Helps pay for that fuel, helps level up your crafting and hideout management, which all pays off in the long run over a wipe. Now, for a craft that's a little bit more work intensive, it takes a little bit more effort, a little bit more thought, is propitols. Now, the key to this is you don't have to use a 10 out of 10 Golden Star or 15 out of ibuprofen. You can use 1 out of 15 or 1 out of 10. Get your meds for 8,500 and then shoot for 19,500 on your propitols. Now, for me, I've got Golden Stars listed here at 0 because I use those in raid. I use them down to 1 or 2 uses left, pull them out, and then I craft propitols. If you use ibuprofen, that works as well. The profit's a little bit less, but it still saves you that effort and doesn't just use up and make your ibuprofen useless once you get to 1 out of 15. Now, if you want to go to the real min-max stage, you could use both. Use up a Golden Star, then use up an ibuprofen, and then the amount of money you're going to make should more than cover almost both of those meds that you bought. But again, that's a little bit more work. It's something I do as I cycle through Golden Stars and stuff, but I'll leave that up to you. Now, for the long craft, this is the overnight craft, and it's basically a break even right now without skills taken and evolve. And I'll show you what happens when I put skills in here in a second. But shoot for 15K on your magnets, 11K for your wires and capacitors, and then 18K on your power banks. Once it's crafted, I usually do them in like stacks of 5 or more. So it's once a week that I'll sell them. I sell them for about 150 to 155,000, and you're gonna break even at the very worst. But what it does is, again, it levels up your crafting skill. It levels up your flea market rating, which is good. But on top of that, like I'm going to turn on my skills here because I have Intel 3 and some hideout skills. It bumps it to a 10K profit per craft or more because I usually get my wires for cheaper than this anyways. So just keep that in mind. That's what this is. This is the long craft when you log off, but it's got some caveats to it. Now, before we move on, I just want to mention, like the Propital craft, how you can use meds and recycle stuff. This applies to several other meds crafts in here. Things like IFACs, AFACs, the Salewas, CMSs, even the Kalak B hemostat. You can recycle meds and get a little bit more bang for your buck, if you will, off of all of these if you're willing to go to that effort. Like the car med kit, for example, you get these on Scavs a lot. I'll usually craft those into Salewas. And if I ever have a 1 out of 3 hemostat, I always turn it into another one. So just keep that in mind, that just because I don't cover it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means we didn't have time, or it was too complicated, or something along those lines. Now, the nutrition unit is not really anything to brag about. The crafts here rarely profit, and they're primarily for tasks. I do craft here aiming to break even or make a little bit of money just to help level my crafting and hideout skills, but beyond that, there's not much here. So if you skip this module and don't craft here, I don't blame you. But we'll go over the crafts anyways, just so that you have an understanding of what you can do and maybe look out for to make a little bit of money. Now, right now, the best craft is going to be slickers. And again, it's not a lot. Aim for, 18K or less on your chocolate, about 12K on your oat flakes, and 13K on your crackers. Once crafted, sell your slickers for about 8,500, and this will net you about 3,000 an hour. Again, not a lot, but something. Now, for the long craft, you have hot rods. More complicated. It takes a long time to craft, but it's a decent overnight craft. I try to get super waters for 120,000 or less, or just use the ones you craft. Sugar for about 20K, coffee for 22, and then tea for 19 or less. Once crafted, sell your hot rods for 13.5 or more, which isn't too hard. Yes, it's high, but when you're selling big stacks like that, people usually buy for their whole ink barter, and it's going to net you just shy of 3,000 an hour, or about 35,000 total in profit. Now, there is one craft that if you put a little bit of work in, and you have a little bit of patience, can actually net you a decent profit, and that's vodka. Now, the goal here is to get your moonshine for 190 or less. I just buy the 5 waters off a therapist for it's 12.4, and then I sell the vodka for at least 32,000. Now, it doesn't hit this all the time, but vodka has some pretty extreme spikes. It'll go all the way down to about 15, 16, 17K, but then you'll see it as high as 35, 36K sometimes. And this is the key. You got to catch this peak. And if you do that, you'll make, 20K on the craft, or, about 13K an hour. But you have to have the room to sit on the vodka for a little bit. I sell it in stacks of 20, if not more. I rarely sell the 10 stack. And it works out pretty good, because not only that, it helps level your flea market rating, which gets you more slots eventually. But again, more work. It's not for everybody. Just wanted to mention it. Now, as a real quick tie-in with the nutrition unit, we'll talk about the water collector and the booze generator. So first off, the water collector. If you have it, you should always have a filter running in here. And that's because it only uses 66 of 100 units to make a super water. And with as cheap as filters are, and as much as super water is selling for, that's a fantastic deal. And it only gets better as your hideout management skill levels up and reduces how much that filter gets used. And you can do whatever you want here. You can use the super water to craft, or you can sell it on the flea market. It's personally up to you. It doesn't make a huge difference on where you go with how much money you end up making at the end of the day. Now, the booze generator, on the other hand, is kind of a fickle monster. We'll go over here and look at it real quick. Making moonshine is pretty difficult to make money with. Now, if you can get your sugars for 20K or less, which can be tough, buy your super waters for 120K, and then sell your moonshine for over 195K, you'll make a little bit of profit. But the key here is to get Intel level 3, and then your profits actually increase quite a bit. You'll see here we go from 5 to 15K on a single bottle. And that's what's big here. If you don't have Intel 3, you should really push forward if you're going to be getting into crafting, because it really changes how a lot of these crafts show up. Now, over at the Intel Center, it's a little bit of an odd duck, if you will, just because the crafts take so long to craft. I mean, you can see here, even with my skills, I'm 31 hours on a thumb drive, and the Vertex is 56 hours. Really long crafts. But you can still make decent money here. It's not like it's not a throwaway. I craft flash drives pretty frequently. I'll cycle back and forth between flash drives and VPXs to alternate crafts. But that was once I got my task items crafted, so I could turn those in for tasks. The signal transmitters and the Vertexes and things like that. Now, with the flash drives, the key here is not to flea market these. Get your G phones for like 15, 16K, your G phone 10s for 42, 43, SSDs for under 34. And then once they're crafted, don't sell them. Go to Jaeger, barter for the dog tag case, and then sell that dog tag case to a therapist, and it's 195,000. If you do that, you're going to make over 100,000 rubles each time this craft finishes. Now, if for some reason we see thumb drives start pushing into like that 75K range, give or take, that's about when you want to start selling them on the flea, because then you'll make about as much same money, but then you get the flea market rating, all that other stuff. Now, the VPXs are something you will sell on the flea market. It's pretty cut and dry. Again, G phones for 15, 16K, SSDs for 34, but get your RAM for 9,000 or less. Try to sell your VPXs for about 105, 110K, and it's going to net you about 40, 45K in profit. Just keep in mind that craft is very, very long. It's 62 hours here. You saw it was 50 something odd on my account with the reduction from hideout management, or I'm sorry, from crafting. So you're in for the long haul when you start one of these. And then with this, we'll do a real quick blurb on the Scav Case. I'll run over here real quick and open it up so you can see it. You have your 15,000, your 95,000, Intel, 2,500, and Moonshine. This is gambling. That's all it is. Doesn't matter how much research I've ever done. None of these things really make any more or any less money than the other one. They have potentials to hit big, but with what they've done on key cards and stuff like that, the major profits aren't nearly what they used to be. That being said, I think they're still worth doing. I do Moonshine to get things like armor, quest items like the military battery or stims that you need for samples, as well as streamer items. It's the best place to get them. Intel, on the other hand, is what I run when I'm looking for keys. I get tons of good keys each wipe using Intel, along with access to guns that you might not be able to buy or are just really expensive. Things like RSASs or the 7.62 MDRs. They show up pretty frequently on the Intel. But on the key side, I don't have very much luck with keys. I've never had it. But I've gotten black key cards, yellow key cards, the Marin key, the Hillside Houseside key, all a bunch of keys that are hard to get a hold of or really random. I've had good luck in the Intel getting those, and then I don't even have to use them. I can use those to barter for other keys like the mark room keys and things like that. So just keep that in mind. You can run all of them. 95K isn't as bad. It's kind of a muddled mix of everything, but I focus primarily on Moonshine and Intel. Now, if we go over to the Lavatory, we've actually got pretty good profits over here. But before we jump into our blue room here and say hi to our favorite pretty little lady, how about you guys drop a like and maybe a comment down below? Tell me what your favorite craft is. Helps out the video and the YouTube algorithm a bunch. And if you're still watching at this point, I have to imagine you like the video anyways, right? So with that out of the way, the dutiful stuff I have to do. Lavatory, best craft in here right now, pretty simply, is bleach. Now this is on Lavatory 2, and the thing to watch out here for is your sodium bicarbonate. If this is under 2100, buy it. It's that simple. It's that straightforward. And then I shoot for about 13 or 14K on the alkali and less than 9,000 on the soap. Once crafted, I less bleach for 13,000 or more, which usually again, like all these others, 5, 10 stacks of big stacks, more than just what you're crafting. It's going to net you about 16K an hour. Now keep in mind, if you're getting your sodium much cheaper, if you're getting it down into that 15 or 16K range and you're still pulling these other numbers, you're going to make just that much more money. Now, if all you have is a level 1 Lavatory, simply craft bandages. It's a simple craft. They're kind of annoying to make and they don't make a ton of money. But if you get your fleece for 11.5 or less and you sell your bandages for at least 2,800, you're going to net yourself about 5K an hour. And again, this might not seem like much, but it'll more than pay for your fuel if you mix this with a couple of the other crafts in the hideout. But moving on past that, the next two crafts we're going to talk about are entirely dependent on what kind of fuel you burn in your hideout. If you're burning blue fuel cans, you craft mag cases. If you're burning metal fuel cans, you craft grenade cases. The key with both of these is to get your bolts for less than 25K and your nuts for less than 15K. On the mag case, this is going to net you 65, 70,000 in profit if you're selling for over 280K, at least the mag case. Now, for the grenade case, on top of everything else, you got to get your metal parts for less than 14K, but you don't sell it on the flea. You sell it straight to therapists for 320,000, and it's going to net you 85, 90K in profit. So keep that in mind with your empty fuel cans. They are still worth something. Now, I saved the best for last, the Workbench. This has the most potential profit in it of any of the modules. If you're going to pick one place to craft, this is it. And the best part about the Workbench is it covers the gambit. It doesn't matter what level you are, how much effort you want to put in. There's a craft in here that'll fit your needs, if you will. And with that, one of the top crafts in here right now is also one of the simplest, and I'm going to start it. It's the circuit board using DVDs. If I see DVDs under 9K on the flea market, I buy them. I buy all of them that I can get. Even if I need to buy like a Scav junk box because I buy so many DVDs, I will buy them because I'm going to craft them. I'm going to turn them into circuit boards. And when I craft circuit boards, again, like I've said about a dozen times so far, I sell them in big stacks, usually 10, 15, 20. Once I get that many and I sell them, I'm going to rake in. I sell them for at least 13.5, but sometimes you can push them more. But I rake in about 25,000 per hour in profits just from this one craft by itself. But close behind this is another great craft, requires Workbench 2 versus the Workbench 1 for the circuit boards, is Nixors. Now, in order to do this, you have to be able to buy the cameras from Mechanic, which requires the task from Skier Informed Memes Arms. I don't understand why that's how it is. Just go with it. But when you buy them from Euros, it's worth about 45K. That's about how much in Euros you got to spend on the cameras. You get your plexiglass for less than 11K, sell your Nixers for 70K, and you're going to net 23,000 in profits. Nixers are going to get cheaper as fewer and fewer people need them for their security upgrade. That's the biggest draw on these right now, but they will last long enough to still be okay. Now, another craft completely worth mentioning real quickly is wires. Also super simple. Get your power cords for less than 20,000, sell your wires for more than 12. This will net you about 21K an hour, and it's a simple craft. And it's the one that I tell everybody, if they don't know what to craft wires, because you're going to make money with it just about regardless of what you buy your power cords at and what you sell your wires at, even if you're just going at what's currently on the flea market. So that is the fallback craft I give everybody when they ask questions. Now, the flechette craft is one I almost don't want to share because this is an evil craft. This craft by itself ruins factory, in my opinion. This is all you see on factory now is flechette rounds. Joking a little bit aside there, you could still make decent money with it. Now, again, this is a use for your empty metal fuel cans. Then you buy your kite for 13K, sell your flechettes for at least 850 rubles a round. You're going to be pushing about 20K an hour with this craft. So it's just another use for those metal fuel cans if you don't want to craft grenade cases in the lavatory. Now, for overnight craft, here, what I do is the rip ammo. And there's a specific thing to this. You want to get your wires for less than 11K, get your hot gun powder for about 23, but then sell the rip ammo for 800 a round, no less. This is going to net you about 55,000 in profit, which is the most you can get from a single craft. It runs for 5-6 hours and will give you the most bang for your buck during that logged out period. And it's not hard to get 800 rubles an hour for rip ammo. You could even get more. I put 800 because that's usually an attainable goal for everybody. And sometimes it has to sit, but a lot of people are buying it up for that leg meta for their, their MP5s or their Vectors or whatever 9mm they're running. But that's pretty much it for the hideout. If you have questions about the Bitcoin video, we got one of those coming out here shortly. Take a peek. I'll link to it or put it in the description when we have it up. If it's not there, we don't have it done yet, but that's coming shortly to answer your questions on that. But thank you for watching. Wish you the best of luck in your raids, and we'll see you in Tarkov.